I'm going to warn you right now that today you're going to get nothing useful out of this book review and this summary of what Zing-Yang Kuo achieved, but you will think entirely differently about how we conceptualize behavior in our field. To set the stage, we need to talk about two different things. First of all, the antecedent behavior consequence model. This is the way in which we typically talk about behavior. That is what occurs before, what is the actual behavior of interest, and then what happened afterwards. These stimulus changes can affect behavior. That is, the environment and behavior interact with each other and influence why we do what we do. But the problem is this is extremely simplistic and it is not enough. However, it is entirely what is taught at all of our different graduate level coursework, undergraduate level coursework, outside of outside of most programs. There are a few small ones out there and professors that value these other approaches. Now the second area is epigenetics, this idea of on the gene. That is how our behavior affects, expresses different genes. It seems kind of crazy. This has been talked about a lot more recently. I'm gonna give you a quick example. In a study linked below, if you want to dive into it, rats were fed either with or without a B12 vitamin in their diet. And what they found is that actually altered the expression of not only the color of the fur of their newborns, but also their relative obesity. They would actually be consistently, that is 100% of the time, a different coat color and a different size. As a result, just purely because of their behavior of their mother and what they had ate, or what she had eaten. Now people have tried to correlate this with famines in our own history. There's very little research when we're talking about humans. And scientists actually disagree and differ on how long these effects last. It's something that's trying to be sorted out currently. That is, how far is it being carried down the gene pool? Is it just one generation? Is it multiple generations? And it's convoluted with a bunch of other variables that are very hard to tease out, like your learning history, your context, and if this holds, also the people before you as well that could have altered the expression of your current genes. Now with the popularization of our field, a lot of great works were lost. One of those is Zing-Yang Kuo's Dynamics of Behavior Development and Epigenetic View. Why was it lost? I honestly have no clue. Probably some subject matter expert or task force didn't find it valuable. It didn't end up on the task list and it was lost forever. It was something like that. How is it so different from the ABC model? Literally everything. Like those aren't even included in their form. He actually broke it down into morphological factors. That is the way in which your body is shaped, the topography we could say. That is, no matter how much I jump off and try to flap my wings, I'm not gonna be able to fly because I am not equipped with that. It is not in my morphology. It doesn't stop me from trying though. Biophysical and biochemical factors, which I'm not even going to pretend to describe or understand how to even describe those. The point here is chemical, biological factors are included here. Those level analyses are important to look at. Stimulating objects, which we're super used to, that's just the antecedent consequences, right? But he broke them down into this larger class to study. And then there's your developmental history and your developmental context. And context is one of those words that we use all the time, but he really dives into what he means with context into here. Complete with studies, insane studies actually. I don't want to spoil anything for you, so you're gonna have to read. And his goals were a little bit different. You see, Skinner is talked about as someone that was holding up prediction and control as the very goals of the science or the approach of radical behaviorism. However, Kuo was a little bit different. You see, Kuo was interested in obtaining a complete whole picture, hence the different factors that he was interested in. And he was interested in how could you create these new behavioral neo-phenotypes? Or rather, how do you equip an entire species with a skill set to be able to overcome things in the environment? Alterations, maybe like what may be happening with global climate change. So I've included the link down below to the book. His personal story is just absolutely insane. He was growing up around World War II, was actually in the States when that started, had to move, there was fires, there was 3-story research buildings that he was funded for. He did a lot of studies on dogfighting actually. There was a time in China in which that was socially acceptable. It is full of them in here. And he actually created this membrane where he could replace the shell of an egg so he could study embryonic development. And this was talked about and linked at some point like in 3, 4, 5 years ago on that channel called I Love Science. But it turns out he did that like 50 years before. If you think that's cool, you know what? This is entirely donation-based, values-based. So if you can, take a second, check out the Daily BA on Patreon. Consider supporting, please. Let's just keep building this community. We've hit 3 out of our 5 goals. There's a little bit more to go. All right, peace. All right, links below. I'll see you all. It's ABI soon. Haha, stoked.